Imagine you're sitting alone at a dimly lit bar. It's 1955. A striking woman in a satin dress catches your eye from across the room and wanders over. She offers to buy you a drink. Her smile is warm and playful. Her voice soothing, low, and inviting. You accept. When is someone that gorgeous ever an ominous sign? The cocktail she hands you is oddly bitter, but you're too enchanted by her to care. You barely notice her watching intently as you drain the glass. Minutes later, the room begins to spin. Colors warp and melt at the edges of your vision. Your heart gallops, and not from excitement. The woman leans in close and asks softly, "How do you feel?" You try to respond, but the words tangle. The walls ripple like a funhouse mirror. By the time you realize you've been drugged, reality has fractured into a kaleidoscope of terror. Congratulations! You've just become an unwitting test subject in a secret government experiment. Now imagine you check into a hospital for a minor bout of anxiety. The doctors promise they can help. Next thing you know, you wake up unable to move, your arms and legs strapped to a bed. A team of doctors and nurses stands over you, faces blank behind surgical masks. A needle slides into your vein and a fog of sedatives pulls you under. When you surface, strange things begin to happen. Day after day, you're kept in a haze. High doses of drugs, rounds of electroshock treatments, and therapy that makes your brain feel like it's short-circuiting. At night, a speaker under your pillow whispers the same phrase over and over until it burrows into your mind. After weeks of this, they finally let you go. Your anxiety is gone, along with basically all of your memories. You must relearn how to be a functioning human from scratch. Now imagine you're an inmate in prison. Desperate for a break, you volunteer for a medical experiment that promises to cure mental illness and maybe shave some time off your sentence. Instead, you find yourself locked in a tiny cell, swallowing mysterious pills each day. The researchers don't tell you those pills are massive doses of LSD. Soon, you're hallucinating wildly. Rats crawl out of the walls. Insects writhe under your skin. You scream and beg them to stop, but nobody listens. They're just watching, too busy scribbling notes. When the experiment finally ends, you're left paranoid, broken, a shell of the person you used to be. The promised leniency never happens. You're tossed back into your cell, your mind still crawling with demons. These scenarios sound like nightmares or horror movies, but they're uncomfortably real. You didn't stumble into the Twilight Zone. You fell into the web of Project MKUltra, a top-secret CIA program that turned ordinary people into unwitting lab rats. If you think you would never fall for it, consider this. None of them saw it coming either. In the early 1950s, at the height of Cold War paranoia, the CIA became obsessed with one question. Could the human mind be controlled? American prisoners of war returning from the Korean War were confessing to war crimes and praising communism, apparently brainwashed by their captors. The spy masters in Washington panicked. They feared the Soviets or Chinese had perfected some mind control serum or hypnotic technique. And if the communists had it, the CIA wanted it, or something even better. Enter MKUltra. In 1953, CIA Director Allen Dulles tapped a chemist named Sidney Gottlieb to spearhead the agency's new brain warfare program. Gottlieb was an oddball genius with a PhD in biochemistry and a fascination with poisons and potions. Under his direction, MKUltra became an umbrella for the agency's most extreme experiments. It was the Wild West of covert research. No rules, no oversight, just get it done. Gottlieb and his team tried everything. They dosed dozens of unsuspecting people with LSD, prisoners, mental patients, anyone they could get, just to see what would happen. They experimented with hypnosis, attempting to program ordinary people into sleeper assassins using trigger words. They locked people in sensory deprivation tanks, alone with their hallucinations. They tested electroshock devices and other bizarre technologies that blurred the line between science and madness. Ethics and consent were treated as inconveniences. One insider later admitted that if you were at the wrong bar at the wrong place and time, you could be drugged without warning. Agency operatives spiked drinks and observed the fallout. It was a hidden nightmare carried out in the name of national security. The consequences were devastating. Lives were ruined. Some were lost. In 1953, Army scientist Frank Olson was secretly dosed with LSD by his colleagues. Days later, he fell from a hotel window. Officially, it was ruled a suicide. Unofficially, many suspect he was silenced. The truth may never be known. Not every MKUltra story ended in tragedy. Some had strange ripple effects on culture. Author Ken Kesey volunteered for a government LSD experiment in 1959. He loved the experience. It profoundly shaped his worldview and later influenced his writing, including One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. In a twist of irony, the CIA's attempt to weaponize LSD helped fuel the psychedelic counterculture that rebelled against authority. Then there's James Whitey Bulger, the Boston mobster. As an inmate, he agreed to participate in what he was told was schizophrenia research. Instead, he was dosed with LSD daily for over a year. He later described terrifying hallucinations and lasting paranoia. Whether MKUltra created the monster or worsened what was already there is impossible to say, but the experiment certainly didn't help. MKUltra also ventured into increasingly strange territory. The program eventually included 149 known subprojects. The CIA searched for truth serums, explored hypnosis, and tried to create programmable humans. None of it worked as hoped. They even experimented with animal mind control, implanting electrodes in dogs' brains to control their movements remotely. Disturbingly, it actually worked. Then there was Operation Midnight Climax. The CIA ran safe houses that doubled as brothels, where unsuspecting men were lured in, secretly dosed with LSD, and observed through one-way mirrors. Agents watched and took notes, hoping to learn whether drugs could loosen tongues or manipulate behavior. Some experiments crossed into outright absurdity. In 1962, scientists dosed an elephant named Tusco with LSD to observe the effects. The experiment ended disastrously. By 1973, MKUltra was finally shut down. Records were destroyed, but some survived. In 1974, investigative journalism exposed the program and congressional hearings followed. The public learned that their government had secretly drugged, abused, and experimented on its own citizens. Apologies were issued. A few victims received settlements. Many questions remained unanswered. With so much hidden or destroyed, conspiracy theories flourished. MKUltra became shorthand for government mind control plots. While many modern claims go far beyond evidence, the real story is already stranger than fiction. Government agents taking LSD, civilians turned into lab rats, doctors experimenting on minds without consent. All of it happened, driven by fear and arrogance. In the end, MKUltra stands as a cautionary tale. It forced reforms in research ethics, but it also left behind deep mistrust. Its legacy lives on in books, films, and television. Stories like Stranger Things draw inspiration from its real-world horrors. MKUltra remains one of the worst ideas in CIA history. If you ever find yourself trying to protect national security and your plan starts with, "What if we secretly drug people?" Stop. Just stop.